326. Now, keep in mind, a lot of kids getting dismissed from school right now. If you have friends, family, if you are in the path of this potential tornado, you must get in your safe spot immediately. This is the track of that tornado. So this is where it's moving and when it will arrive. So you need to be in your safe spot before it arrives. Peachtree City, 326. Tyrone, 327. Stars Mill High School, very close to dismissal time, 335. Fayetteville at 340, Woolsey at 345, then Riverdale moving towards your area as well just after 345. During a tornado warning, it is so important you get to your safe spot. And you may be wondering, what's my safe spot? You want an interior room away from any windows. If you have a basement, the basement is the best place you need to be. If not, you want an interior room like a closet or a bathroom that does not have a window. Here's just a generic example of a home. Anywhere in red is what you want to avoid. So you do not want to be in any room that has exterior walls. So if you have a window or if the outside is on the other side of one of your walls, that is what you want to avoid. So you want to be an interior bathroom, a hallway, a closet, and an interior stairwell, or a basement is going to be the best place to be. Let's get back to that tornado warning. Again, this is for Fayette County and Coweta County. A radar indicated tornado. We are seeing very bright returns on radar. The brighter the color, the stronger the wind. So possibly a fairly strong tornado moving through Baker Road in the Eastwood Estates area as this moves very quickly to the east at about 35 miles an hour, heading towards Plantation Subdivision and Thomas Crossroads and Vaughn Road. So right now, the possible area of rotation we're watching is just north of Eastwood Estates near the Baker Road area. It's this area you see right here. Patrick has circled it where you see the reds and the greens almost creating a little bit of a circle wanting to hug each other. This is radar indicated rotation. We have a lot of shear, especially south of I-20. That is the area we've been watching very closely for the potential of any tornadoes. That is where we have the most instability and the most spin in the atmosphere. And this possible tornado is moving east. Patrick is watching very closely, getting brand new information. First Alert meteorologist Patrick Peet, what do you have for us?
Actually in communication with someone from our weather network, and they're telling me that at Highway 34 and Industrial something, a gentleman says he saw the tornado. So we're actually working to confirm this, but a regular person out and about in the streets telling us that they saw the tornado crossing what looks to be Industrial Park. I actually just got confirmation. Industrial Park and Highway 34. Someone telling us, a viewer telling us that they spotted that tornado. Because this person isn't a trained person, we can't say that it's a confirmed tornado. But what we are getting evidence of is at least someone getting eyes on this thing in the Highway 34 area and Industrial, looks like Industrial Park.
I will say the area he's mentioning, Patrick, is right where we are seeing some rotation on radar. So Highway 34 area near Sharpsburg-McCullum Road. If you are familiar with Sharpsburg-McCullum Road, we have a possible tornado on the ground heading in your direction. 60+ mile an hour winds at a minimum, very heavy rain, lightning at a minimum, but a possible tornado as well. And as Patrick said, someone is saying they spotted a tornado. This would be rain wrapped, fairly difficult to see, but certainly something we will be watching for as this is moving quickly to the east at about 35 miles an hour, heading towards the Country Manor area, eventually making its way into Peachtree City and Tyrone. We're going to track this for you because it is so important you know well ahead of time that this storm is approaching your area. This is heading towards Peachtree City, and I'm dancing with this here. Peachtree City at 326, Tyrone at 328, Fayetteville at 340, Woolsey at 345, Riverdale at 350, Jonesboro at 352, Lovejoy at 354, Murrow at 357, Hampton at 357, and Stockbridge at 404. Again, a tornado warning right now in place for Coweta County and Fayette County. The actual storm right now is in Coweta, but it is moving into Fayette to the east at about 30 miles an hour. Area in red is the tornado warning. The area you see in yellow, that is a severe thunderstorm warning. This is along that leading edge. We've been with you all afternoon, showing you the incredible strong winds along that edge. We're also seeing the possibility of hail. So this tells us the possible severe threats beyond the possibility of a tornado. Everywhere you see in purple, which is really along that main leading edge. We are seeing some large hail possibly as well. So again, strong winds and hail, almost a certainty along this leading edge, but we are seeing quick little spin ups along this main line as this moves east. And all of this is moving into the metro area. In fact, it's doing it right now, but all of this is moving into the metro area. Patrick, I know you're watching closely. Someone has said they have seen a tornado. I have not seen it verified by the National Weather Service quite yet. Once it is, you will see this turn purple. That tells us it's a confirmed tornado. So we're not quite there yet, but radar certainly telling us a possible tornado on the ground. Patrick?
Yeah, and Jennifer, I don't want it to be lost on other viewers, because if you have the First Alert Weather app downloaded and you're in, let's say you're in Fayette County, Meriwether County, Coweta County, or Clayton County, you received an alert over the course of the last few minutes for a severe thunderstorm warning. That severe thunderstorm warning was extended into your areas, but that rotating part of the storm is also something that we're tracking and we're concerned about. So a heightened level of concern for portions of Coweta County as well as Fayette County as this is moving to the east. And we're already starting to get some reports out of Coweta County from some of our emergency managers of trees down. So we're starting to see those reports gradually start to slip in. We saw this, if you were with us at the top of the 3 o'clock show, we actually showed you a shot where after the storm had already passed, you could see that they were still dealing with some gusty winds and some rain. Looks like we got a camera shot up for you right now that looks to be State Route 34 in Coweta County, near the Noonan area, near where that tornado was reported. So it looks like traffic is moving. Looks like there is a bit of a backlog turning what looks to be right onto what I'm assuming is Highway 34. So people are slowing down for some reason. Again, we're speculating. It's 3:19. This could be school bus traffic. This could be evening commute traffic. But there is a slowdown there, and we're starting to get some reports of trees down in the county. So we're going to continue to work to get confirmation of what has happened and what unfortunately is still ongoing, because we have an active tornado warning in 2 of our counties until 3:45. So that's nearly 30 more minutes to deal with this storm as it moves to the east. One thing that we like to do in situations like this is we're married to different versions of our ability to look at velocity, because what that can help us do, looks like something happened. Looks like they may have just trimmed some places out of the warning. But what that helps us do is at least pick up on where some of that rotation is. Now, admittedly, we are very, very, very close to the radar site. So we'll keep an eye on this over the course of the next couple of minutes. But remember, we send out a radar beam from that radar site, and this is coming very, very close to it. So we're getting some very low level information here, but the closer you are to that radar site, sometimes when you're next to it, it is kind of hard, and we kind of have to switch to another radar site. So we may have to do that for a couple of minutes just to try to get a better look at what's happening, but it's going to be a further radar site, and honestly, our best bet is to stick where we are. What we are still picking up on is some signatures of some rotation that is going to be crossing the Fisher Road area. This is going to be moving through Shoal Creek Forest, south of Country Manor. That's going to be our best bet on where that rotation is right now, moving to the east. So if you're along 74, that's going to be headed your way over the course of the next few minutes. Once again, a tornado-warned storm that has a lot of rain, some heavy downpours associated with it. And as First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Valdez just mentioned, we're also concerned about some of the hail, Jen, embedded in this storm.
Yeah, winds, hail, tornadoes, the whole gamut as this line pushes through. The emergency manager in Coweta County said they're starting to receive numerous calls of trees down. So this Boeing area, and again, this is what we were talking about, this Boeing area is where the strongest winds are located. Even beyond a possible tornado on the ground, we're seeing the possibility of 60-mile-an-hour winds within that Boeing segment. So that would cause numerous trees and power lines to come down. So damage expected in Coweta County. And again, possible tornado as well in eastern portions of Coweta County, moving into Fayette County. I will say, in the type of setup we have today, a quick spin up is possible, but I am not expecting any long-lived tornadoes or long-lived strong tornadoes. This is going to be more of a quick spin-up situation. They spin up very quickly, but they'll also go away fairly quickly. And that's why we continue to watch the rotation possible within this storm to see how long it is still on the ground, if it even is. So it does look like it's showing some signs of weakening, at least as far as rotation is concerned. But as Patrick mentioned, we're getting very close to the radar site. You can see where that radar beam is originating from. It's in Peachtree City. So the storms are almost going right on top of the radar site. So it's a little bit harder for the radar beam to detect what's moving directly over it. But as this gets closer to the radar site, we are going to see a little bit of interference with that. But you can see that tornado warning still in place again for eastern portions, northeastern portions of Coweta County and DeFayette County. Patrick circled there where the radar beam is coming from as this moves east. And we've had multiple incidents where the storms or possible tornado has actually gone over the Peachtree City National Weather Service office. So certainly something they'll be watching for as well. Thankfully, it does look like they are just south of the warned area, so they should be okay from this possible tornado. But certainly those in Peachtree City right now need to take cover, go to the lowest level of your home and into your room, a basement, away from any windows as a possible tornadic storm moves over your area. And again, that possible tornado is going to be on the leading edge of this storm. And again, we talked about the radar beam. Notice how it starts to look like a little bit of tie-dye right there. That's just because it's getting closer and closer to the radar site. But this is approaching the Windsong area, Stony Brook Plantation, Greers Mountain, Cobblestone Creek, Peachtree City, obviously a very populated area, Fernwood, Belle Grove, Fishers Bank, Fayette Villa Estates, Smith's Crossroads, Bridger Point. I am naming who is just directly in the path of this possible tornado. At a minimum, 60-mile-an-hour winds will be possible, large hail possible as well, blinding rain as well. So take cover, get to the lowest level of your home, away from any windows as this approaches. Everywhere you see in pink here is possible hail. So we are seeing some hail possible along this leading edge. Thankfully, our first alert radar is not detecting much shear right now, but it did earlier. And that is something we see very often, these quick spin ups and then they go away. But we're going to keep that warning in place until we are confident that the threat of a possible tornado is over. We are starting to see those power outages coming in, and this number is going to grow very quickly, especially as the storms get over more and more populated areas like Metro Atlanta. We're going to start to see those numbers really start to come up. Right now, they are fairly low, but again, this is just now moving through western Georgia and starting to approach the metro area. Those numbers will go up, especially since the emergency manager in Coweta County has said that he's starting to see numerous reports of trees down. Of course, you get those trees down, you get those subsequent power outages as well. This big area in yellow beyond the tornado warning, that is a severe thunderstorm warning. That does include portions of Clayton County, all of Fayette County, and it does include portions of Meriwether County and much of Coweta County. And again, that's for the possibility of severe thunderstorm winds. That's winds of 58 miles an hour or stronger. We're seeing some hail, some fairly large hail possible within that line as well. And again, within this leading edge, that's what we're watching for, some little notches to develop some possible rotation as this moves east. At a minimum, very strong winds. And we talk about that gradient all the time. You can see it very closely through Coweta County. Notice how the red and the green are pretty much touching. It doesn't really bleed into another color. It almost goes from no rain to pouring down rain. And whenever you have that really tight gradient of colors, that's a good indicator of how incredibly strong these winds are. So certainly severe winds moving through the area. Winds that strong can easily topple trees and power lines. And Coweta County getting hit very, very hard right now with strong damaging winds of 60 miles an hour pushing through the county, now moving into East Georgia, moving into Fayette County and Clayton County, but also starting to move into South Fulton County, Douglas County, Cobb County. I will say the further north you go, it's not nearly as strong. It's really those areas south of I-20 where we have the highest risk of severe weather. That is where we have the highest risk of tornadoes and possible rotation. This is also where those temperatures are warmer. The warmer the temperature, the more unstable you are. The cooler the temperature, the more stable you are. So we're in the 60s right now in Atlanta, 67 degrees. So that's keeping us a little more stable, which is why when you look to your north across Metro Atlanta in areas north of I-20, we're not seeing nearly as much lightning. That's because we're a little more stable there. The further south you go, it's a little warmer. We're seeing more lightning, more instability, stronger winds, and therefore stronger thunderstorms. We are still under a tornado warning. This does expire at 3:45. This is for far northeastern Coweta County into portions of Fayette County for a radar indicated tornado. We did have someone say they spotted the tornado. That needs to be confirmed. That was a good 15 minutes ago, I would say. So So whether it's still on the ground or not as likely, especially since we're not seeing much reflectivity from it, where we're not seeing much rotation with this. But nonetheless, this is moving east, producing very strong winds. And First Alert meteorologist Patrick P., I know you're watching very closely for any confirmation, any damage. What information are you finding right now?
Yeah, you know, we're working also with our producers. Our producers are looking around to find cameras that are in the areas that are impacted. And this is in Peachtree City. And admittedly, this is going to be south of where the greatest rotation signature is. What we are seeing is just some run-of-the-mill rain here. But if you look out in the distance, you can see that rain gets a little bit heavier. Now, this camera kind of lags a little bit. There's like little pauses in there. But you can see in the background that the winds are blowing some of those trees a little bit more so than the action that we're seeing out in the front view here. So definitely seeing some gusty winds in that area. This area is at least under the severe thunderstorm warning, and we're still monitoring some heavy downpours pushing through some of these areas. Something that we're noticing in some of these radar trends is that our focus is continuing to shift a little bit further south, right? So it does look like where the energy is, where we're seeing the most increase in lightning, where we're starting to see some of the hail become sizable at least, is further south. So we have these conversations anytime that we have active warnings because we're all weather aware here. But as mentioned earlier, First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Valdez just mentioned it as well. To the north, we got cooler temperatures. We have more stable air. That doesn't mean you're going to be dry. There's rain moving through. And I even mentioned earlier that maybe a straight thunderstorm. Yeah, you got some lightning just to the west of Gordon County, south of Dalton here. One lightning strike in that area. Elsewhere, the energy is well to the south, and that's because, as mentioned, the further south that you travel, those temperatures are just a little bit warmer, which means it's a little bit more unstable. The wedge has not penetrated all of North Georgia, so where the wedge has not penetrated and really held firm today, we're seeing at least the potential for there to be some energy, and we're seeing these thunderstorms. They have been very quick in spinning up, and the rotation sticks for a little bit. This has been the most impressive signature that we've seen today. By far, the rotation signature, when this was warned, had really tightened up for a couple of minutes. And you pair that with the fact that at least a viewer says that they have spotted this. This, once again, has not been confirmed by the National Weather Service. Typically, an eyewitness account of a tornado has to be done by someone who is trained by the National Weather Service. Or, I mean, if you took a picture or video, that's a different scenario. If you recorded a video, we can look at that video, and as long as you allow us to use that imagery, we can use that video to confirm once we, make sure that it's from the date and the time and the place that it is recorded. We can use that to confirm, or one of our trained spotters, obviously another meteorologist, whether it's one of us here at the station or someone at the National Weather Service, we can confirm that by visually seeing it. So all of those things have to play out. The National Weather Service will send a team out, no doubt, to Coweta County. This warning, while redrawn, still includes folks that are in Creekwood, Country Manor, Canongate Acres. I do think that the strongest signature is to the east of you, and we're watching that leading edge right now that's crossing over the Highway 74 Spear Road area, moving through Groveland and Fetlock Meadows, Belgrove, moving into Fayetteville Estates, Smith's Crossroads, Timber Ridge. You're going to see the wind start to kick up in those areas over the course of the next few minutes. We're going to track this part out because the goal is to give folks as much lead time as possible, and we've been tracking this and diving into it. We'll do a broader track since the rotation, at least right now, is a little bit broader. We do know for sure that there are some very strong winds embedded in that, and it's moving to the east at around 35 miles per hour. Since I zoomed out, we did lose that tornado warning. So the National Weather Service has dropped that tornado warning, but still some strong winds headed towards Fayetteville at around 3:39. That's 9 minutes away. Lovejoy just before 4 o'clock and pushing into McDonough at around 4:10. So still a severe thunderstorm warning, Jen, that we're tracking across the area, and this is going to continue to be active at least for a while. We have severe thunderstorm watch, and I'll let you talk about it, but still in effect until 9 o'clock for all of those counties there.
Yeah, we'll be watching. We do expect this line to weaken as it moves east. It's moving over cooler, more stable air, so it's going to start to pick away at these storms, and they will weaken as they move east. Notice most of the lightning is south of I-20. That is where the most unstable air is. That is where we have the highest risk of severe weather. That is why that tornado watch was issued for areas along and south of I-20. That is where we are the most unstable. With that said, notice that line extends from top to bottom, all the way from the Tennessee border, all the way through North Georgia into Middle Georgia as this entire system moves east. No tornado warnings in place right now, but we do have severe thunderstorm warnings that remain in place for the possibility of 60-mile-an-hour winds. The strongest winds are going to be the leading edge of this storm system, especially that area that is bowing. It's that same part of the storm that did show some rotation in Coweta County and prompted that tornado warning for Coweta and Fayette County. We are now seeing that leading edge there with that bowing segment making its way into Fayette County. As that same storm moved over Coweta County, the emergency manager in Coweta County informed us that he is getting numerous reports of trees down and tree damage. So as this moves into Fayette County, unfortunately, I think you'll see some trees coming down as well. So although you are not under a tornado warning, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, and some strong damaging winds will be possible. Very heavy rain, lightning will be possible as well as all of this continues to move to the east at 35 miles an hour. This is getting closer and closer to Metro Atlanta. Patrick, let's zoom in to the perimeter because I want to show folks how fast this is moving into Metro Atlanta. So this is where we have the heavy downpours extending from Kennesaw, Marietta, Smyrna, Mableton into Fairburn. This is moving east. This is the west wall of the perimeter. So you are minutes away from torrential downpours over Buckhead, Dunwoody, Sandy Springs, Midtown, Atlanta, the airport. The airport's been under a ground stop for almost an hour now, and that is not going to get any better soon. In fact, it's going to get worse as it gets better. Moving into Union City at 336, College Park at 345, East Point 345, Sandy Springs at 346, 347 Buckhead, Ansley Park at 348, Mountain Park at 349, Riverdale at 349, Midtown and Atlanta 349. So you've got about 15 minutes before heavy rain and gusty winds approaches your area. I will say areas northern suburbs north of that watch area, this is not severe, but heavy rain in the afternoon is bananas. Nobody wants to be in it. It is not good. So you have just minutes before the heavy rain approaches. This bowing area is where we have the strongest winds, possibly severe winds of 60 miles an hour. And that is why we still have that severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Clayton County, for Fayette County, portions of Coweta County, as well as this moves east, Merriweather as well. This is until 3:45. And again, it's going right over the radar beam, but it's this area right here where we have the strongest winds, and we'll be watching this area as well as areas to our south for any notches in the line, which would indicate a possible tornado. This is moving towards Fayetteville at 338, Brooks at 341, Woolsey at 343, Jonesboro at 352, Lovejoy also at 352, 355 in Hampton, 357 Williamson, Atkinson Elementary School around 402, then Griffin at 403, and McDonough at 408. Again, no active tornado warnings, but we still have severe thunderstorm warnings as this line pushes through. But just by looking at this, Patrick, north of I-20, I'm not really concerned at all. This is really fizzling very, very quickly. I will say I am seeing weakening south of I-20 as well, but I think really what we're going to have to watch is Merriweather County, Pike County, Spalding County, Henry County, for possible severe storms as this continues to push east.
Yeah, I was looking at temperatures in that area, and right now Griffin has been hovering around 70 degrees, but the further east you go, those temperatures start to drop off. And we've been talking about this cool wedge for days. And admittedly, if you talk to any meteorologist that works here, it's 6 of us, about to be 7 in a week. Literally, we know that wedges are the bane of our existence because an east breeze can really just kill the forecast. You know, we do the 3-degree guarantee. We're the most accurate, and, you know, it gets us sometimes. Well, we knew this wedge was going to be in place. How far east it would go was going to be the thing. And as this line of storms continues to move to the east, it's going to gradually start to move. Once you get past, I'd say, this line where Griffin is, the further east you go, you're going to start to move into that more stable air mass. So I'm going to be watching this. I think we still have another hour or so where we can see things really kind of get going. But the further east this goes, I do think that this is going to seem to kind of taper off. And we've seen spin up, so that's something we'll have to watch, because essentially what's happening is you have this line of storms moving, and then you have this wind coming also at a different angle, different direction, and it's causing these storms to rotate, right? There's already kind of been some broad rotation with it, but as these unidirectional or multi-directional winds kind of interact with these storms, it causes them to behave a little bit differently. You start to get a little bit of rotation. Looks like we do have tracker 85 south. What county, guys? So we're traveling 85 south right now, and we're seeing some rain on the windshield right now. They're driving a little bit faster than I would like them to if I was in the back seat, but we're gonna let that ride. You want to make sure that you are driving cautiously. These guys are trained professionals, and I'm picking. But seriously, guys, use some caution out there on the road. You can see the car in front of our traffic tracker leaving that stream that kind of causes a little bit of reduced visibility here. So that's something that you'll have to deal with in this particular area. Right now, we have no active tornado warnings, but we do have some heavy downpours. The lightning strikes have decreased. And if you've been following us for any amount of time, you know that one way that we look at a storm, there's many that we do. One way that we look to see what's happening within a storm, just with the naked eye, is just looking at the lightning strikes. Because if you see a reduction in lightning strikes, typically you're getting a weakening storm, which means the hail's getting smaller and the winds are decreasing. Doesn't mean that the winds aren't gusting 30, 40, but what we're picking up on is a trend, at least, the closer that you are to the city, that those winds are starting to come down a little bit. And that's something we're going to continue to monitor, as we have no active tornado warnings, but we still have one active severe thunderstorm warning. And that was I-85 south going towards Palmyra, right? Is that what I heard? Right, yes. So what we're seeing there is they're running into that rain. It's heavy at times, it's moderate at times, and it's coming down. You can see that there's a coating of water on the roadway, so it is slippery out there. Y'all, listen, it is approaching 3:40. It is approaching evening commute hours. I don't need to tell y'all that we as a whole are bad drivers. Because it's kind of understood, right? Let's make sure that we're just exercising a little bit of caution with these slippery roadways. Although we are picking up on at least a weakening trend, it's still gonna cause a little bit of havoc. Check out this Coweta camera. This is out in Coweta County, and we saw this shot earlier. This is, if I'm not mistaken, that's Highway 34, right? State Route 34. Yeah, so this is State Route 34, near where we picked up on some of that rotation earlier. I'm curious to find out what's going on in that line. This could be after school traffic. But we had some reports of some trees down from the emergency managers there. We're working to get more reports out of Coweta County. That's where we saw the strongest rotational signature this afternoon. We had multiple tornado warnings. We had two that were in, I believe that was Carroll County, and then we had this warning that we're still tracking, that we were tracking up until a few minutes ago, in portions of Coweta and Fayette County. This is in the area where we saw the strongest rotational signature. Still some wet roads out there, because on the backside, the leading edge, as First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Valdez mentioned multiple times, the leading edge is where the strongest winds are, is where you get the greatest instability. But on the back end, you're left with all of this rainy mess. And unfortunately, it's causing a little bit of a slowdown on the roads. Hopefully the reports continue to be limited, but we've seen at least a couple of reports of some trees down. Jen?
National Weather Service at all times, and they are actually going back to look at the radar data over the last 45 minutes to an hour or so, and they see what we call TDS, or tornadic debris signature. It's a fancy word for saying that our radar is actually detecting the debris that a tornado would cause and lifting it in the air. Our radar beam can actually physically see that, and that's a really great tool that meteorologists use, because it helps us determine if there was actually a tornado. If you have debris flying through the air, obviously something is creating that debris. And the National Weather Service, looking back at that data, does see a TDS, or evidence of a tornado, as this line moved over Carroll County and Coweta County. So the National Weather Service, they're going to go assess the damage tomorrow, and they're going to go over that exact same spot. They look at it on radar, they look at the roads, the subdivisions, the counties involved, and then they go on foot and they actually assess where they saw that TDS, or that debris, and then they look at it from the ground. And that's how they determined, A, if it was a tornado, B, how strong was the tornado, C, how long was it on the ground. So this is what we call our debris detector, and that's what Patrick is doing right now. He's actually going back in time to try to find that spot in Coweta County where we did see some debris flying up in the air. So again, we're very close to the radar site, so we're watching this closely here in real time, and we'll have to go back and look at the timestamp of when that tornado warning was issued, but watching for any possible debris. To give you a better idea, I'm looking at this. This is what you're seeing, Patrick. So Eastwood Estates, possibly in that area. So we are just west of Widewater Drive, General Lee Drive, Blue Ridge Drive, Baker Road. Again, you're seeing this bright color. This is what we call a TDS. Basically, this is telling us that there is debris that's actually being lifted up in the air, whether it be
And you mentioned that Home Depot. I know that you can't really see it, but whenever we were tracking this storm, I specifically remember you referencing the Home Depot. Yeah, so this would have been to the north and east of that Home Depot. Once again, the National Weather Service is going to go out here and check this area, but this is what our First Alert radar allows us to do, you know.
Also, and again, we're putting all the pieces together. You're like a detective and you're putting all the pieces together. There was someone who let us know that they saw a tornado on Highway 34 East. So this is Highway 34 East, and this is where our radar beam is showing us that we had some kind of debris being lifted up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So all of these pieces are coming together, Patrick.
Another caller mentioned I-85, and I believe that this is I-85.
Right here.
Yeah.
So I-85.
I think this is I-85. So this would have been that. I think all of the pieces of the puzzle kind of work together. But if that's true, the eyewitnesses accounts, because there's two now, I-85 just to the east of I-85, and then also in that Highway 34 industrial park area. So that combined with this imagery that we're seeing right now on First Alert radar, the debris detector, we may be able to piece this together and get you some information as early as this evening. In the meantime, we just received a report out of Douglas County that there is a tree down on a house near High Point Road and Shine Drive. That's going to be in Douglasville. Just a note to the producers, that's going to be in Douglasville near High Point Road and Shine Drive. So report of a tree down, no word of injuries. We're working to get all of that fizzled out. If there's more to report there, we will bring that to you at some point during the evening and more than likely in our blog. But for now, starting to see a few more reports of trees down. There's trees down near Cargill Meat Solutions. That's going to be near the intersection of Dart and Herring Road in Noonan. So the reports are starting to come in as expected after these storms rolled through. You can kind of get a little bit bigger of handle on what has happened. Let's get you back to current radar because I know that we want to do a little bit of investigation because, you know, radar is powerful. But Jen, the only thing that we're actively tracking right now is this severe thunderstorm warning that is set to expire in a minute.
Yeah, and it is weakening. That is the good news. It is weakening. We're watching this like a hawk to give you the very latest information in real time. This is weakening. This is losing a lot of its electricity. That's a really good sign. But Fayette County, you're still under that severe thunderstorm warning. There are some really strong winds on the leading edge as this moves out of Fayetteville into portions of Clayton County, Henry County, Spalding County. But even north of that warning, look how much it has fizzled over Atlanta. And that is 100% because of the temperatures. We are only at 67 degrees at the airport. So it was much more unstable along the Alabama state line. It was much warmer. But as this is moving into much cooler temperatures, notice how much this is fizzling. Now, if you're in this rain right now, you're probably thinking, Jen, it's still pouring down rain. Yes, it's pouring down rain. But trust me, this is an improvement compared to what this line looked like as it crossed the Alabama state line. This will be fizzling as it moves into Buckhead right now, North Druid Hills, Midtown, Atlanta, Gresham Park. Again, you can thank those chilly temperatures for that, certainly keeping it a little weaker. But south of I-20, that's where we still have that threat of severe weather. We are under severe thunderstorm watch until 9 p.m., but I do think that will expire much earlier than that. The strongest storms, that risk of severe weather is going to be on the leading edge of this system. So once that leading edge crosses your area, then you are in the clear from the threat of severe weather. And I will say, really, if you're north of I-20, your threat of severe weather at this point is very, very low. That's because it's just way too cool, especially as it continues to migrate further and further east over cooler temperatures. South of I-20, that's where we still have some instability. You can see it by the lightning strikes. But again, it's mostly our southernmost counties that have the highest risk of severe weather. Coweta County, it's moving out of your area. It's moving out of Fayette County. But we will be watching very closely for Clayton County, Henry County, Spalding County, Butts County, Jasper and Putnam County as well. As this line pushes through, that is where we will have the threat of severe weather as this pushes in. Patrick?
Just let you know, the severe thunderstorm warning for all of those counties that we were talking about, you were literally just mentioning minutes ago that we could tell on that line that it was weakening. The winds were weakening, the storms were weakening. The National Weather Service has allowed that severe thunderstorm warning to expire, which is good news and improvement, of course. Still watching south of that, because if anything's going to fire up up over the next hour or so, it's going to be these storms right now. And the only part of our viewing area that we're watching really at this point, to be quite frank, for real energy is probably going to be well south of the areas where we saw those strong storms. So I'm going to just draw an arbitrary line at where I'm keeping my eye over the next hour. And I'd say anywhere south of this line. Watching these storms, they're moving pretty much due east. Let's make sure that they're not jogging to the north. And it's pretty much due east. So I think that it's pretty much that line where we have the best chance of seeing any real strong 50, 60 miles per hour winds kind of redevelopment, just because to the north of that, once again, that wedge is in control. We've been talking about that because wedge is a storm killer. It is literally, essentially, it's like that. It's like fire retardant. It's like the fire extinguisher. It is going to fizzle out anything that's really trying to get going, anything that's trying to blow up, they're trying to really gas up and fire up. It's really going to knock it down. And that's what we're seeing across a large chunk of our area. Doesn't mean you're not going to get rain. We're seeing some rain starting to move into portions of the city of Atlanta. Not seeing a whole lot of electricity, but a lightning strike or two possible. Looks like did we just get a new warning?
Patrick, this is a severe thunderstorm warning, and this is for Spalding County. This is for Fayette County and Clayton County until 4:15. And the reason they issued this warning, the possibility of 60-mile-an-hour winds. So still seeing some really strong winds there. This is moving east at 35 miles an hour. And again, it's that area that's bowing right here. You can see where those strong winds are. Let's track this, Patrick, to the east here. This is moving east. Again, brand new severe thunderstorm warning. This does include the southern metro. Again, it's that area that Patrick and I were showing you south of I-20, where we could still see some strong to severe storms as this continues to push east. This storm capable of producing 60-mile-an-hour winds. And again, with 60-mile-an-hour winds, you still have the possibility of trees coming down and power lines coming down. This is heading towards the Jonesboro area at 352, Lovejoy at 353, Hampton at 356, Atkinsville Elementary School at 403, Stockbridge at 405, McDonough at 410, Locust Grove at 415, Jenkinsburg at 424, Jackson High School at 431, then towards Jackson at 433. The possibility is there of 60-mile-an-hour winds, trees, power lines coming down. We're not seeing any tornadoes, but we will be watching for any quick spin-ups. Every tornado we have seen thus far this afternoon was a very quick spin-up along that leading edge. So if we see any additional tornadoes, again, it's going to be on that leading edge where we have the highest risk of severe weather. That's where we have the strongest winds as well. So let's zoom in a little bit, Patrick, so we can see where those strongest winds are located, moving out of Fayette County into Clayton County, so you can get your bearings on where we are talking about. We're talking about Jonesboro, Lovejoy, Woolsey. That is where those strong winds are right now, and this is moving east. So Stockbridge, McDonough, Hampton, Locust Grove, you're going to see this heading in your direction very, very shortly. In fact, Lovejoy, I'm sure it's getting very loud. If you look outside, I'm sure those trees are swaying very vigorously right now as the potential of 60-mile-an-hour winds moves through the area. Radar still detecting the possibility of some hail within some of the stronger storms. But again, as this continues to move east, we are seeing weakening, especially north of I-20. We're seeing big time improvement north of I-20 just because of the temperatures. It's simply too cool to support any severe weather. Still fairly chilly in Atlanta for May standards. It's 67 degrees right now at the airport. So as these storms that were severe were moving through the Alabama state line, they were severe with 60-mile-an-hour winds, large hail, and then as they moved into the metro, the temperatures were getting cooler and cooler and cooler. And as it moved into that cooler, more stable air, it almost fizzles these storms. It's like pouring water over something that's on fire. You pour water over it, it fizzles out. That's exactly what happened, especially areas north of I-20, where we are more unstable, where we have warmer temperatures, more instability, more spin in the atmosphere. That was south of I-20. You see those storms intensify or maintain their strength. So that's exactly why we have that greatest risk of severe weather south of I-20. That's where we have the greatest instability, and that is where we have the current severe thunderstorm warnings in place right now. Even in Atlanta, you're not under a severe thunderstorm warning, but it's raining.
Can you hear it on our rooftop?
Can you hear it? Can you hear it on my mic? How's it looking, Patrick?
It's coming down. So this is our rooftop camera, guys, right? And what you can see is the rain is coming down. Something that you're not seeing. Look at these trees. They're not swaying. So no severe thunderstorm warning. This is just run-of-the-mill rain. It's going to slow you down. the connector is going to be a mess. It always is a hot mess this time of day, so no changes there. And visibility definitely kind of reduced. You don't really see a whole lot in the distance here because the rain is coming down good. It's a heavy rain. It's a soaking rain, and we've had rounds of this for several days. So we're going to continue to watch over the course of the next few hours. We haven't seen much in the way of flood warnings in our area, but the potential is there just because the rain's coming down heavy in some places. I do believe that we have Tracker. Is Tracker still on I-85? Newnan, Tracker is out on I-85 in Newnan looking for damage. Something that you can see is that it's a nicer drive here. Those windshield wiper blades not going a mile a minute like they were earlier. The roads are still wet. Folks are out and about. Thankfully, not seeing any evidence of damage right now. We're going to work to get you guys some information, at least to check out an area where we at least saw a brief debris drop. We have a word for it. We call it a CC drop, but it's basically where we saw evidence of debris going in the air on First Alert radar. Yes, we're going to send that to Tracker. If you guys let me know in my ear who I'm sending it to, I can send them at least in the, oh, come on, they ran into, see, this is why you have to drive carefully here. They ran into more rain. So, you know, it was beautiful just a couple minutes ago and more showers on the back end. The strongest part of this line to the east of them, right? But still producing some rain that's going to slow you down. Evidence not only in this area, but also in the city of Atlanta where the downpours are coming down out there. But thankfully, lightning is very limited and the winds, it didn't even look like they were blowing 20 miles per hour. So I think you're okay to get out and about in the city as long as you just exercise some caution. We're going to work to find out the intersection that we need to send our tracker to at least investigate before the National Weather Service gets there to see if there's any evidence. But I'll leave First Alert Radar to First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Valdez as she continues to look at this severe thunderstorm.
Yeah, and still seeing those strong winds. Again, this is still bowing out. It's like a bow and arrow when you see it curve like this. That tells us that is where we have very strong winds. So that is why the severe thunderstorm warning is located where it is. This is where we have that bowing segment of the storm where we are seeing the possibility of 60-mile-an-hour winds, some large hail as well. And it is moving east. So Henry County, you're now included in that. Spalding County, you're in that severe thunderstorm warning. This is for the potential of 60-mile-an-hour winds. Could see some hail as well. This is crossing over 19 and approaching Lovejoy, Hampton. Lovejoy and Hampton, the winds are going to be very strong as this moves on through. As this pushes through, trees coming down is a possibility, power lines and power outages coming down, and subsequent power outages, that is a possibility as well as this line continues to move to the east. I will say the greatest threat of severe weather from here on out is south of I-20. The further south you are, the higher your risk. The further north you are, the lower your risk. And really areas north of I-20, your threat of severe weather is pretty much over and done with as these storms continue to move to the east and encounter some cooler temperatures. I want to show some temperatures out there if we can, Patrick, because it is in the 60s across much of North Georgia, and that has really been our biggest protector throughout the afternoon. We have temperatures in the 60s, so you get these storms moving through, and it really has those storms fizzling. These are current temperatures right now, 66 in Atlanta. Look at north of I-20. That's why I said the threat of severe weather is pretty much nil north of I-20. It's only 60 in Canton, 60 in Gainesville, 60 in LJ. Look at south of I-20, big change. 70 degrees right now in Griffin, 70 degrees in LaGrange. Thomaston, you are at 77 degrees. So a thunderstorm moving over an area that's 77 degrees is totally different than a thunderstorm moving over Cherokee County, where it's 60 degrees. We're talking about almost a 20-degree difference between Upson County, where it's 77, and Cherokee County, where it's 60. So that's going to make all the difference in the world. So when Patrick and I keep telling you that threat of severe weather is mainly south of I-20, that's exactly why. The higher the temperature, the more instability, the higher the risk of severe weather. The lower the temperature, the more stable the air. And really, again, it's like pouring water on an active fire. It just fizzles. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Going back to radar, let's show you where the storms are located right now. We do still have an active severe thunderstorm warning across our area. This is south of the metro, Henry County, moving through Spalding County, moving through Clayton County, portions of Fayette County. This is until 4:15. It does include Clayton County, Forest Park, so the airport. Do we have the camera at the airport? If we can pull that up as well, I would love that because the storms are actually rolling over Hartsville-Jackson as we speak right now. They've been under a ground stop for at least an hour or so, more than an hour, and now the actual strongest part of the storm is moving over the airport. Good news is once this passes over the airport, things will improve. So I know it's going to create a domino effect, tons of delays. Here's Hartsville, Jackson. As you can see, visibility is very, very poor. I do see some movement. I'm not sure if these planes are just taxiing, but certainly I'm not seeing anyone taking off or anything like that. The ground stop was issued before the storms even arrived. It is not severe at the airport, so this is not a severe thunderstorm warning in place at the airport, but there was a ground stop through at least the last hour or so because of the very heavy rain, reduced visibility. Of course, with the strong winds, you don't want planes taking off and landing. I want to take you back to first alert radar. So that's what it looks like outside. Don't go outside. This is not something you want to be outside in. We've got storms moving into Stockbridge at 4:04, Atkinson's Elementary School at 4:05, Griffin at 4:06. And again, this is a severe warned part of the storm. So this is where the 60-mile-an-hour winds are possible. Griffin at 4:06, McDonough at 4:10, Locust Grove at 4:15, Jenkinsburg at 4:24, Jackson High School at 4:31, Jackson at 4:33, Dunkin' Donuts right there at 4:34. 4:39 towards Porterdale. So if you see your city listed here, again, a severe thunderstorm warning is issued for your area. We're seeing the possibility of 60-mile-an-hour winds. That is exactly why today is a first alert weather day. So you could plan and prepare and to make sure you and your family are safe. We knew the afternoon commute would be a mess, and we wanted to make sure you planned ahead and were ready for the possibility of severe weather, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. Storms right now strongest south of I-20 and even extending south, Pike County, Lamar, Upson, you're going to see some activity. And I just got an alert here. I want to see if this is a brand new warning. And it looks like we have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning. This is until 4:30.
The area you just mentioned.
Just south of it. So this is until 4:30. This is for Spalding County, southeastern Spalding County, Pike County, Upson County, and Lamar County. And again, that was the area I was concerned about, again, where we have the greatest instability. Remember, I showed you in Upson County, temperatures were in the upper 70s. Within this storm, we have the possibility of 60-mile-an-hour winds and penny-sized hail, Patrick, penny-sized hail with this warning as it moves very closely, very quickly, I should say, to the east. Again, Pike, Lamar, Upson County, severe thunderstorm warning in your area until 4:30. Patrick?
Yeah, no, so Jennifer, really just diving into the fact that we just got this new warning. Obviously, the threat for tornadoes, not really something we're focused on right now. We've lost all of those tornado warnings that we were tracking this afternoon. Still tracking 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect. One of those warnings in effect for another 30 minutes until about 4:30. As 60 miles per hour winds, our primary concern, there's a lot of lightning in these storms, and there's also some heavy rain. We're going to dive more into these storms coming up in the next few minutes.
And you can